returning to the show is Sabra Smith. Hello, Dr. Sabra.
Hi, Debbie.
Sabra has her doctorate in education, plus she is an early childhood curriculum specialist, so she knows a lot about ages and stages. Dr. Sabra, can you address ages and stages for us?
Well, ages and stages are those critical moments at the ages of which development occurs. It's very important from birth to 1 year that we understand that observation, interaction, stimulation is important. Babies observe the behavior, the interaction with their adult providers, and enriching environments also help them to learn.
Yes.
But Dr. Sabra, there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of learning going on during that chaotic time.
Definitely, and the environment is so important. You want to make sure that the environment is enriching. Music, we talked about music. You want to make sure that basic vocabulary, you know, apple or red, that they can glean to, and perhaps they'll begin to take the object and put it to the words that they've heard over and over and make that connection. So the environment is very important.
How important is cuddling, holding, building up that bond?
You know, that's the essential ingredient. You want to make sure that you have the touching experience with a child, because it helps them to identify feelings and the appropriate responses to those feelings.
Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, sure. If you perhaps scientifically, two babies crying and one baby receives the emotional support of the touching from the caregiver and the other baby doesn't, there'll be a big difference in the response.
And that all helps with development?
With development. And they
because
begin
of the trust issue?
The trust issue, touching, response to their emotion. If they're crying and you pick them up, then they begin to see that that's a touch issue, and they learn from that.
You have to develop that trust. Mommy's not going to throw me into a situation that I am not prepared or comfortable with.
And the key, Debbie, is that physical development tends to happen at the same time, but cognitive and social emotional development happens at different stages. Children develop differently with those particular skills, and so you want to make sure that you interact with the child, that you put them in an enriching environment, the beach, for example, you know, so that they are able to learn and understand how to interact with their environment. Well, there are some milestones from birth to age 1. Particularly local movement. We saw that the babies were crawling, beginning to try to hold their heads up. We saw babbling. We heard babbling, like beginning sounds, one-syllable sounds, voice recognition, face recognition. Those are some of the milestones that between this age group we should start seeing.
And if we don't see them, is that time to consult our pediatrician?
Well, if there's a major concern, consult the pediatrician, but we must remember that all children learn differently, and you know, sometimes boys develop it slower than girls, so we must keep that in mind and perhaps look at the environment, if it's enriching, if we're interacting with the kids enough, and then if we're not satisfied, then definitely go to the doctor and try to get a medical opinion.